everyone, and welcome back to Silent No More. Today, I kind of want to talk about is the children that are in domestic violence that seen it, are raised in it, experienced it, and how it really actually affects them. It is hell for children, and unfortunately, there are so many people out there who are ignorant to that fact. So, family members sometimes don't realize how much of a traumatic event that is for them and their brains. Obviously, a lot of times the women who are living it don't realize that it's affecting their kids because they think that, or they hope that their children aren't being hurt. So, they think that they're just taking the brunt of it and doing the best at keeping their family together. There are educators who are not very trauma informed. There's doctors who aren't trauma informed. And there's even some therapists that aren't great at it, but there are some that really are. With that being said, as a parent of a child who was subjected to domestic violence, had to witness some really difficult things with their behaviors, with their fears, things that they tell me that it's like, oh my God, you should not have to think about that at this age, and they do. Obviously, I've just talked about before how my son has a case open against his biological father for some of these some of the stuff he experienced that was beyond just domestic violence. I have another child who is wrestling with that decision. She was his scapegoat. She definitely got, I think, the brunt of a lot of things. She was treated very much like how I was treated, which is kind of, emotionally, and it's sad and pathetic. And she's 9, and she just recently started struggling a lot. The trigger was me needing to have surgery, even though a plan was in place and we had a trusted, or mom of a friend, doing transportation and all of that stuff for them. It still wasn't enough, and I didn't realize it until well after. The day that I had surgery, she was struggling at school and crying, and I had actually just sent an email out when I got home and said, hey, please let Kiva know that mommy's okay, surgery's fine, and I'm at home. And she did that, and that helped her. And I thought it was kind of just limited to like that day and the next day, where she was, just wanted to hang out and be clingy and whatnot. As I'd had surgery before, but for whatever reason this time it was different. It triggered her, and then she started to get sick at school. Was having severe stomach pains and all of that. Ended up they tried treating her for like reflux, and that wasn't helping. Brought her back to the pediatrician, and then they found out she had a UTI because she has a duplication on her right kidney. So they treated that, but then she was getting worse and crying and being doubled over in pain and having pain in her back. So bring her back, and they said a lot of this is simply stress. And then the other part, she does have some other medical stuff going on, like constipation, and it looks like she's about to start her menstruation soon and whatnot for the first time. So all those things cause pain. And then so we started talking about like what she was stressed about, because when I had my surgery, she made me a card. And in her card, excuse me, sorry, gross. She was, talking about how much she missed me and how she was scared. But, she had written sentences that were like, I just feel like there's a lot going on in my life. And that's a pretty deep statement for a 9-year-old child to make. And so I asked her about it and whatnot, asked what was going on, or what she felt like was going on that was so much. And at first she said, I don't know. I just feel that way. And I was like, okay, well, that makes sense. Then after we left the doctor yesterday, she asked to talk to me, and I said, of course. And then she revealed that there's a reason why she doesn't want to be at school. And mind you, my first thought was, oh my God, are you being bullied? because they go to a great school and I haven't heard it, nobody said anything. And then she was like, oh, no, nothing like that. Like, nothing's bad at school. Like, nobody's doing anything wrong. I just don't feel safe there. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And she said that she was afraid that Butthole, is what she calls him, because she won't call him Dad. She doesn't like to call him Kyle, is going to come to her school and hurt her and or kidnap her and her brother. And so she's worried about that she's not going to be safe there. The worst part, I guess, that she said on top of that was that she is worried that when she's at school, I'm not safe. That I'm not going to be there to pick her up from school because Butthole will have kidnapped me and taken me away from them, or murdered me and taken me away from them, and she would have no way of knowing where I was and never get to talk to me ever again. Horrible. Then that was compounded with she was also afraid that while I was gone to like pick them up, or gone from the house to pick them up from school, that when we got home we would find Butthole here, and that he would either hurt and just take me and leave them, which he threatened to do all the time, or he would hurt and or take all of us. She also said she was worried about his parents. She was worried that his parents would show up and try to help kidnap her. So that was pretty disturbing and heartbreaking. I did my best to reassure her that she was safe, that he doesn't know where she is. We have this order for protection. Everybody knows about it. Everybody knows that she's supposed to be kept safe, that he can't go anywhere near them and whatnot. So that wasn't really helping a whole lot. Then we decided we were going to come up with a plan for how to make her feel safe at school. And part of that was involved, me sending an email every afternoon saying that I am safe. It is absolutely sad that I have to send an email to a 3rd grade teacher because a man damaged my child to this extent. But that is what I said that I would do. On top of that, we said if she's really struggling, that she gets to call me, and she gets 30 seconds to a minute where I can just be like, everything's fine, reassure her, and have her go about her day. Again, not things most 3rd grade parents are thinking about. And we're meeting with the principal and the school counselor to go over these things, and to have them also reassure her that they have a plan for her, and that she is safe at school, and they will keep her safe at school, and whatnot. And then we also called her POC from Baca, and she talked to her about being afraid of him and being afraid of these things that he would do. And she, talked to her. She calmed her down. She reminded her, that, always, she can always call 911. They will always answer and be there for help in emergencies. Wanted her to make sure that she memorized our address. Obviously she has all of our phone numbers in her phone, so she can, call and do all of these things, if she needs to, should something ever go wrong, and, God willing, nothing ever will go wrong. And then, recommended talking to the school, and then said, did you check in with her after school today? So originally the plan was she was going to go back to school today, and we were going to have this meeting. Then I got an email saying that they weren't available till tomorrow, but she was up at 5 a.m. screaming in pain. She was doubled over, curled up in the fetal position, and nothing was helping. So I said, okay, we're going to stay home one more day, especially since we can't meet with them yet. And then her sister, who's 6, or sorry, she's 7 now, actually, she ended up having a seizure, because she's been super stressed out, and because Sunday night she had her very first flashback that was while she was awake. She's had them like in her sleep, but never been triggered enough while she was awake to go completely ballistic like she did. It lasted for a good 2 hours, where my 7-year-old daughter was screaming, crying, running around, hiding, throwing herself on the floor, screaming at people to get away from her when there was nobody near her, screaming not to be touched even though nobody was touching her. And then on top of that, she, normally, I go and I comfort her because that's what she wants, I'll give her a hug or something, and she recoiled in fear. and I was trying to talk to her and it didn't seem like it was registering. Then I had said something, and I had said, oh, you're my little girl, it's okay. And then she screamed at me, don't ever call me little girl again. I am not Kyle's little girl. And I was like, holy crap, what can of worms just opened up here? Obviously we know that he's done things to her. She has not been one to talk about it. And she still carried on screaming for like another 30 minutes after that point. And then all of a sudden, like, it was over. She stopped. She kind of wiped her tears, and then I just got up and walked like nothing had happened. So she had therapy on Monday. They talked, her and her therapist talked about this, and she confirmed that yes, this was a flashback, a dissociative event, and that it was due to abuse by Kyle. And apparently she actually disclosed to her therapist for the very first time an abusive event that involved her and her sister and some candy wrappers, because what triggered her was her younger sister, who's 4, was eating some candy and she dropped the wrapper on the floor, and we said, hey, pick that up, and she gave the typical 4-year-old response of, I don't want to do that. And that's what sent my 7-year-old into a tailspin of him hurting her and her sister when they were at the dining room table one day and had a mess of candy wrappers. So it was definitely a little, I mean, it is heartbreaking. I know he's a monster. Like, I know he's done horrible things, but every time I have to hear it, every time I have to find out one more thing, every time I realize he's done one more thing, my heart and my head just want to explode. So, doing my best to scoop these children up and hold them together, acknowledge that they've been through hell, try to give them a sense of safety and normalcy, and try to keep the other people who are involved in their lives informed about their trauma and their responses. My daughter's going to probably end up having a lot more of these events because in therapy they're going to start reading a book. And in the past, when they had read her some books just about like bullying and whatnot, she had brought up that she had a mean daddy, and then she didn't say anything after that, and then she hasn't talked for a couple of years, a year and a half, something like that. Anyway, so we're expecting that while they're reading this book about these different things, that she will probably maybe have some spontaneous outbursts while in therapy, and very well could struggle with them after therapy at home, whether that means she's acting out with behaviors, or if she's disclosing actual memories, or if she's having flashbacks and dissociating and all that stuff. So thank you, Kyle. This is what I have to live with and look forward to every freaking day. So if you're out there, you need to realize this affects children, and it affects them a lot. A 9-year-old girl should not have to be worried that her mom is going to be murdered while she's at school. An 11 or a 10-year-old boy, he's almost 11, should not have to worry about that maybe he should stay home from school so he can protect his mother and the house. That is what this monster has done to my children. This is what I have to deal with every minute, every hour, every day. And he doesn't. He doesn't care. He gets to laugh. He gets to go about his day in business. He gets to be all cocky, and he gets to not really have much accountability while they suffer every single day. And until you've been through it, you will never understand the magnitude of it. As a mom, I want to fix them. I want to make it better. And this is something I can't make better. I can listen, I can support therapy, I can use all the resources in the world, but I can't fix it or make it better. So that's it. That's my piece for today. We need to remember the children. We need to remember that they are affected by domestic violence as well, and that it is a traumatic, life and brain altering event.